Good evening, everyone, or good day, everyone. This is Edward's Ear Marketing Mentor who loves small business, and I'm sitting here with the amazing entrepreneur, Tate. How are you, Kat?
Very well, thank you.
And Tate is an amazing channel partner of mine. She is a brilliant online copywriter and strategic storyteller, aren't she, Tate?
I suppose I am.
Yeah, I just named what she did for a living. And it's interesting. We're sitting in my kitchen and we've got, what have we got here? We've got
cheese.
Crackers.
I think that's cucumber, isn't it?
A cucumber.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Exactly. We've got an amazing spread, and Kat and I are actually having some wine and cheese before we do our webinar tonight. And I've been meaning to do this anyway. Actually interview Kat and get to hear her story, and we actually started exchanging our stories, and we thought, why don't we record this and make this an awesome entrepreneur interview? What did you think of that, Kat?
I thought fantastic.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Now, where it was, Kat Tate's an amazing copywriter. I'm actually a brilliant copywriter, but Kat Tate's better than me. And I've been very lucky to work with Kat Tate, and I refer a lot of work for her to take people's ideas into powerful words that sell. And I think you're really good at that, Kat. And I just want to think, do you think you're really good, Kat?
I do.
Great.
Writing is an art form.
Yes.
Just like design and any other creative avenue that you choose to take. Writing is an art form. It's something that takes a long time to finesse and to perfect, and it never is perfect. But I love it. I love what I do.
So I was going to say, Kat, tell us your story. I mean, you're an amazing copywriter. I've seen your work firsthand. I'll refer you gladly to my clients.
You do. Thank you very much.
And the check's in the mail. And no, Kat's been an amazing client of mine too. And but tell us your story. Like, what did you do when you're at uni? How did you become the successful entrepreneur you are today?
Look, I've been writing since I was able to walk, really. My parents had a typewriter, and the first thing I did when I learnt to walk and stand at a typewriter was write short stories. So I started really, really young. My dad was a journalist and still is, quite a prominent journo. He went to Fleet Street when he was 18 and interviewed Roy Orbison and Rod Stewart and all sorts of people back in the day. So I loved what he did and wanted to follow in his footsteps, which was the plan. So what I did was, while I was at uni, I actually started working at the Sunday Times in Perth. And it's the sister paper of the Daily Telegraph, basically, for those Sydney-siders who are listening.
So it's a good right-leaning.
Oh yeah.
So it's a pro-liberal newspaper.
Oh yeah.
And they're small. Do they just love Tony Abbott the way I do?
Look, I don't know what their policy is. I don't read the paper anymore, being in Sydney, but I wouldn't be surprised. But no, it was a great paper to work for. And the plan there was that I would work my way up and get a cadetship like my dad did at the same newspaper when he was the same age.
No way. So you were like a young Chris Hansen. You're just working your way up the tree.
That was the plan. So, and I was doing a graveyard shift one night, which was basically sitting next to the police radio at 3 a.m, waiting for a story to come through. And
stop right there. So you're saying, as a journalist, you would sit there listening to the police radio?
As a 17-year-old, yes.
So you're listening. Is that legal?
Absolutely.
So a journalist is allowed to listen to a police commute channel?
Yes, because it's put out there for the media to listen to. The police and the media actually have a really good relationship, particularly in Perth. They share stories a lot. Press releases are sent through from the police department, and we can rewrite them for the paper. So they've got a pretty strong relationship. The police have a reason to get that information out to the public.
Wow, so you guys get along. So you're a 17-year-old version of. So it was about 2 years ago, right? So
no, 18 months ago.
Yeah, zero. Just so you know, everyone. Kat's an amazing woman. So there you go.
Oh,
so there you go. So you're a 17-year-old Kat. You're sitting there, and you're listening to a police radio, waiting for action.
That's it.
What would happen when you're sitting in Perth, waiting for action? What kind of stuff would you hear?
Crickets. No, I'm kidding. There was actually, things actually did happen in sleepy old Perth. Look, unfortunately, a lot of it was things like car accidents. And actually that's the reason why I changed my direction from hard news, because I had a comment made to me one night by someone on the editorial team who basically told me to pray for a double fatality to get a good front page lead. And that just changed everything, because I realised, okay, I've got into writing because I want to change the world through words. I feel like that's my calling, and to be working in a way that actually is wishing for ill to come on people for my own benefit is not what I want to do. So that was a big shift for me.
Wow. And excuse the noise in the background. We've got two cats. Our office staff are fighting each other.
Yeah.
We
need to do some mediation there.
Yeah, we need mediation.
Yeah.
Not meditation.
No.
So, that must have been scary. So you're sitting there as a 17-year-old, you're listening to a police comm channel, and you're told to hope for a double fatality.
Yes.
What was your immediate reaction? What went through your mind when this information hit your senses?
Well, you know how when people say that something, it's like a light bulb moment, or it's like a brick wall goes up, or, there's a really profound moment in their life. That's what that was. So it was the next day that I decided I couldn't do hard journalism anymore. It wasn't my thing.
So what happened the next day? So you got up, you arrived at work. What did you do?
Look, I figured I'd sort of keep going for a little bit until I worked out my next move. But as things in my life seem to have happened in a way that things just fall into place, there was a phone call that came through the newsroom, and I happened to pick the phone up. And it was an old family friend of my family's who now had her own PR company. And she'd called to blast one of the journalists for a story about her client. And I recognised the name and the voice and started talking to her and mentioned that, I'd been thinking about making a shift out of journalism. And she said, well, I'm looking for someone to come into my PR firm and work as a junior and work their way up. What do you think?
Wow. So you just became a publicist from day one.
I did, straight into it.
So complaints are a good thing.
Yeah.
So you were about to take a complaint, and you're out getting an awesome job and a new break.
Yeah, which took me on a whole new path and took me to where I am now.
So what is it? Tell us what does a publicist actually do? What did you actually do at this PR firm?
Look, there's a whole big picture view when it comes to public relations. So what we would do is we would start with a client, find out a bit about what they want to promote or publicise in their business, and come up with a communication strategy. And often that would be a 12-month plan. So we're looking at things like, okay, what's coming up that you want to promote? What events are on out there that we can actually leverage off? So let's just say, you've got a client in the gift basket area.
Yeah,
you'd go out and find events on, Valentine's Day and all the obvious ones, and maybe some more obscure events that you can promote. We would launch and stage media events as well and invite the media along, writing press releases, a lot of sort of client liaison work. One client of ours actually was a national park, and we had to come up with a crisis communications plan. And actually when there was a bushfire, we were the first port of call for when the media were making inquiries. And so that was a really intense part of the job, which was quite rewarding as well.
So during bushfires in Perth, you were the first call once?
Yeah, once the news hits there's a fire and it's at the park that we represent, the journos call us because they know we've got that relationship with them. They know that that's who they need to call. And it's our job to then, line up those media calls, get them through to the client, get the information back to the media so they can give it to the public.
Wow, so you've worked in some pretty high-stress, extreme situations.
Yes, and this was all before I was 20.
So I thought you were like 25 about this point in the story. So before you're 20...
Because what happened was I actually, I finished school quite young. I finished year 12 when I was 16 and went straight to university. So my first year at uni, I was 17. And I went straight through uni, finished a 3-year degree and was out pretty young.
It's funny you said that. I was actually 17 when I was at uni.
Were you?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and when I was 18, I went and joined the army. There you go.
Look at you.
Yeah, look at me now.
Country.
Yeah, now a traumatised marketing mentor. Yeah. That's amazing. So before the age of 20, you've already worked in a newsroom, you've been up all night listening to police comm channels, you've had epiphanies, and you've already done crisis management.
Yeah.
In extreme situations before the age of 20.
Yes.
Not bad. No wonder you're this brilliant, amazing person in front of me with those experiences.
Well, yeah, it's funny. You don't really think about the things that you do until someone says, hey, you did this and you did this and you did this. And then it's like, oh, I've actually done quite a lot.
I think it's very compelling. So what happened after that? So, obviously we're in Sydney now.
Yes.
How did you get to Sydney? Where did you say, I'm sick of this mining colony called Perth?
You can never get sick of Perth. It's a beautiful place.
What happened? How did you wind up in my kitchen?
Well, look, the Perth, as beautiful as Perth is, the media market at the time, and I guess still is, was very small, and there's only so far you can go. So it got to the point where I thought, okay, I've had some great inroads here. I've done some great work with some fantastic clients, but Perth doesn't really have much going on for me anymore. I guess another big part was that I was born in Sydney and always planned to return.
Oh, born in Sydney, huh?
Yeah.
Where were you born?
Born up in Newport on the beaches. So.
And so now you live in Manly Beaches.
Exactly.
You returned back to the place of your birth,
That's
did you?
That's it. Back to my roots, and it feels great. So the shift from Perth to Sydney happened when really I just started applying for public relations work in Sydney, and caught the eye of ANZ Stadium, Telstra Stadium at the time, Olympic Stadium. It goes by a few names depending on the sponsorship at the time. And they actually flew me over from Perth to Sydney to hang out with them for the weekend and go to a few sports games and interview myself and, get a feel for the organisation. And they offered me the job when I flew back to Perth. So then I came over.
You're like a superstar. So you're in Perth.
Yeah.
You apply for jobs remotely. You get flown out to Telstra Stadium for the weekend.
Yes.
And you became a publicist for
Public relations coordinator.
For Olympic Park.
For the entire stadium. Yes.
My God, you've had some pretty high-profile positions, Tate.
I have. I feel I've been very fortunate. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure luck is part of it, Kat, but surely your skills and prowess with words would attest to you getting those roles.
Perhaps. I won't argue with that.
And I'm not trying to make out you're egotistical, because I think your success is amazing. Why? And I'm not trying to set you up to be egotistical, but why did you get those prestigious roles? What traits about yourself did they think were very employable?
That's a very hard question to answer. Look, I guess growing up in a family with a journalist as a dad and mixing with a lot of prominent people from a young age, I grew up quite quickly. So, I'd be at media launches when I was 8 talking to celebrities and whoever, so I just sort of... I was always used to adult company. I discovered a way to present myself that formed really good relationships with people, because that's what my dad did. He was a gossip journalist at the end of his career, towards the end of his career. He's retired now. But even when he was a gossip journalist, he always, he kept his word. He never broke promises with those people that he was writing about. And he formed really good relationships with people. So I think I just naturally, absorbed that. And so it's always been my thing to put people before anything else, and maybe that's helped.
Yes, I can imagine you would have just gone in there and they would have just felt your energy and realised, no, this woman understands what we're about. We definitely want to offer her the role.
Yeah, and look, I think that even though I would have had gaps in my skill set at that age, having only had one PR job outside of university, I think they saw definitely the potential there. They saw the strength in my writing as well, and they gave me a shot. So it was brilliant.
So you got offered your job, you packed your bag, you flew over to Sydney, and then what you started this job, you got this amazing job. What then happened? So
I was there for just over a year, and it was a fantastic job. I met David Beckham. I'd be in the change room. I'd be in the change rooms and there's NRL players just undressing in front of me with no care in the world, and I'm sort of trying to be professional and not look, and and just seeing all these great people and
So you had the iPhone up? No,
this is a pre-iPhone age, so thank goodness. I think I had a BlackBerry at the time.
Ah, so you had your old BlackBerry making out your sending emails.
Yeah, that's it.
This might have been before YouTube as well. These days we'd upload straight to YouTube, wouldn't we?
Yeah, but not then. But I loved it. I loved the thrill of, and I'm not really a big sports person, to be honest. I don't really enjoy watching sport except AFL, which is fabulous.
I'm a Victorian, don't you?
I do. You're a Victorian.
As a proud Victorian, we're very proud of AFL.
I know that.
I think all sports suck, but I'm very proud of AFL.
I feel the same way. Sports sucks, but if I have to watch it, AFL.
That's right, because Perth's an AFL town.
It is. We don't have NRL.
You're a real town. Only New South Wales is corrupted with this rugby stuff.
This so-called rugby.
And it's not like this interview is being recorded and it's not going to go up on my blog and get viewed hundreds of times, but I think it's a bit bogany, don't you, Tate?
No comment. Ed's here.
Yeah, actually, we could have rugby clients. We like rugby.
We like rugby. All codes of rugby.
Yeah. But you've got to give it to rugby. They do know how to beat each other up out on the field.
They do. Well done.
Much more violent than AFL.
Yeah.
So you're here. You've got this amazing job, this amazing life. What was, before you started off as the amazing entrepreneur you are today, what job were you in before that, and what were the events that made you say, it's time for me to be my own woman?
Well, there's another chapter to be revealed.
The hidden chapter.
There's a hidden chapter.
Oh, I want to hear it.
Would you like to hear the hidden chapter?
First you hear it on the Edward Files.
Exclusive.
Mm.
The exclusive chapter is that after the stadium, I took a job working for the Heart Foundation.
Wow, not-for-profit.
Not-for-profit, working in their PR department. And that was great because I felt like I was starting to make a difference with my work, which is what I was always planning to do, is find some way to use words to benefit the world in some way. So that was brilliant. But look, it wasn't quite right for me. And being the entrepreneur that I am, I decided to quit in the middle of the recession and become a professional organiser.
Right.
Very abstract, I know.
And obviously this. So was this the dark chapter?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Okay.
It actually set me up for the business I'm in now. So, look, I started it in the recession, and considering it was in a poor time when people weren't spending money on having people organise their homes for them because it's a luxury service, I still did quite well. So I was quite happy with what I did. But
wow.
The funny thing is that looking back, I can see the reason I did well was because I marketed my business brilliantly. I knew how to talk to the media, so I got a lot of press coverage without having to pay a cent by writing my own press releases and chasing media and developing relationships with those contacts, and blogging and writing feature articles about organising that got placed in magazines. So looking back, I maybe wasn't in the right industry in terms of doing the actual organising job, but I knew how to start a business and promote it really well and create a tribe. So their skills, that although that business failed in a business sense, it was a practice run for where I'm at now.
Yeah, because I think it's amazing because I've known you for maybe 1.5 years now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the side of Tate I've seen is a woman that never misses, and the thing is, I remember you once telling me you're a professional organiser.
Yeah.
And it's always, wow. I once tried currency trading, and that was a train wreck, right? I'm now a successful marketing mentor.
Yes.
And my Wolf on Wall Street days got me shot by a hunter. It just didn't wash.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny that how a lot of people in life fail, but we've had our failings, but we just took it as a next stepping stone to success.
Yep.
How can someone like you think so differently to the masses? Because I know most people would have taken that to heart and given up. How did you overcome failure and all that? What was going through your mind?
Look, again, I think it goes back to my childhood, and my dad was very entrepreneurial, and my mum never said money was important. The important thing was that you find something that you love and you do what you want to do, and you'll have a good life. And I guess I sort of took those lessons through. So I've just always had a drive. I've never, and the other thing too is we had a very independent family. We were brought up to be quite independent, not have to depend on anyone. So I think moving to Sydney on my own, and by the way, I didn't actually know a soul here when I moved to Sydney.
Wow.
I didn't know anyone.
Wow.
It's just having resilience, and I think that is something you can learn, but I also think it's part of your nature. So if you can look at every experience you have as being a lesson, not a good or a bad thing that's happened to you, but a lesson, then you'll always be optimistic. Always.
So I suppose the prism in which you look at the world at has given you this amazing sense of resilience and optimism, which has contributed to you being a powerful entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I don't want to say it's all rosy. I mean, when I had my organising business, I lost all my money. And you'd be able to relate to that.
Oh yes. As a burnt out Persian. There you go.
Yeah. So I lost all my money and didn't have anyone to back me up. I'd wasn't married, didn't have a partner, anything like that. My family, I've never asked them for money. And that was a really tough time, but I got the right help. I went and saw some financial planners who helped me get back on track. I went back to full-time employment, and which was great because I ended up adding a whole other suite of writing skills to my set. And, I just worked hard.
What after you did that and you went back to full-time employment, what were you doing?
So I joined a company, and funnily enough, they're actually my clients still today. I still write for them as a freelancer.
No way.
Yes, because they're so fantastic. The company is the HI Pages Group, and they're an online directory business. So they have the natural therapy pages, the home improvement pages, and pet pages. So if you're looking for example, a plumber in your area, you type in plumber in your suburb, and all the listings come up for you. My job basically was, and credit to the people who hired me, was actually crafted around the skills that I had. I walked in, there was no job there, but they created it for me. And basically I set an editorial strategy into place for them. So to drive a lot of traffic to the website, I came up with a plan for hiring freelance writers and building a really big database of online articles. So these are articles we could share on our Facebook pages and through Twitter. We could interview clients about trends in whatever industry they were in, and build this great database of knowledge that we could share with our audience.
Wow. So and they're a client of yours today.
They're still my client. Yep.
So this is amazing. So take us forward, and I know before we sat down to do this interview, and I was getting the wine, cheese, and crackers ready. You said you're off to Vietnam in 2 weeks.
I am.
What's all this about?
So what I did was, in June of 2012, I realised that I got to a point with my work at HI Pages where I felt like I'd done all I could do, and I was no longer adding value to the company. And for me, having that entrepreneurial spirit, I can't just go in and take a paycheck if I don't feel like I'm challenging myself or I'm benefiting the business.
That's very noble of you.
In a way it's almost selfish because I wasn't enjoying it and I didn't feel like it was right to stay there. But I sort of see what you're saying. But what I did is I decided to go to India for a month, India and Nepal.
When was this?
This was June 2012.
Got it.
So I took a little holiday and had no plan. I simply went with 2 friends to India, landed in Delhi, and we worked our way up to Nepal. And really it was a life-changing experience where I got a lot of clarity on my next move, which is why I'm going to Vietnam, because I'm looking for another eye-opening experience.
And you're saying that while you're in Vietnam, you're going to rethink your whole life and come back some kind of machine or something, are you?
Hopefully not a machine. I would like to stay a person. No, I know what you're saying.
This will be RoboCat, yeah?
Yeah, RoboCat.
Yeah, RoboCat.
Yeah, bringing robotic copy to a business near you. The plan is to rebrand my business in the year ahead. So I'm really just taking a bit of a break, get some clarity on what that next move is and see what unfolds.
It's funny you say that because it's really interesting on me because when I, as you know, I used to have a pretty high-flying job and I got really badly washed up in the GFC. And I remember I was in Sydney and I was unemployed from professional work for about 1.5 years.
Okay.
Really bad. That's where I lost all my money. Really, it wasn't good for me. And I remember even though it was very painful at the time, in looking back on that as an old Persian man of 35 with 2 cats, I'm just really old and over the hill now. When I look back on that, I kind of feel that, in a way that was my chance to reset my life and start it again. And isn't it funny that you sort of go through life, you sort of reach a point where you think, something needs to be tweaked. Yeah. Something needs to be changed.
Yeah.
What do you think of that topic?
You need a shift. Look, what's really interesting at the moment, and it's something I've been noticing in the world as a whole, it's not just, in my work, but the world itself, is there's a real shift at the moment towards authenticity. There is,
isn't there?
And
no more crap anymore.
No more crap, and no one wants to be spoon-fed information. We can see through things like false claims, really sloppy advertising, and even people don't want to be, told what shows to watch and when to watch them. They're going to go online and watch them when they want. That's just one example. Another example is with food. People now want to know what's in their food. Where's it come from? Where's it grown? How is it grown? Did you use any pesticides? Who's the farmer? How did it get to this shop? there's a real shift in the world at the moment, and there are a lot of people driving that shift who I call change makers. And I feel like I'm a part of that wave. So I think the next year and beyond is going to be really interesting to see the results of that shift.
It's funny you say that because, as you know, I started if you're listening to this interview, you probably found it in my blog. And one thing I found interesting is I started my blog called The Edward Files. And as part of my own blog I've been doing that. Like I've been speaking a lot of truths in my own blog.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been very critical of some people, which I don't think people have been critical of enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny when you do that. It's funny when you go out on a limb. You do start a bit of a following. You do start a bit of a revolution in your own way, don't you, Kat?
You do. And it's the whole tribe building. So...
Well, what is this tribe building thing? Take us through it, Kat.
There's a concept that through your life and through your business, you align yourself with certain tribes. So you can call it your audience, your target market, but in an authentic sense, it's your tribe. So what you're doing, Ed, when you're blogging about these things that are important to you and when you have an opinion, you start to attract people who really understand and find your message that resonates with them. That becomes your tribe. These are your number one fans.
Uh-huh.
The awesome thing is that when you start building a tribe, these are the people that then go and share your message with even more people to come into your tribe. So you're not having to do much work because people are sticking to your ideas and going, yes, that's what I need in my life. And hey, Sally over there might find that useful too. And they recruit people into your tribe.
It's interesting you say that because, as you know, we're running our first free one-day seminar.
Yes.
Everyone's sharing it for us. So are these people who are part of my tribe who like my information and they're sharing it? Is that what you mean? That's
exactly right. The other thing too to think about with tribes, and this is something that people, and you might be finding this because you're quite, strong in your opinions, which is fantastic.
I'm not strong in my opinions. How dare you accuse me?
Everyone knows Mr. Ed has opinions, and that's fantastic. But what you need to remember, if you are going to go out there and start building a tribe and start having a voice, whether you share that voice through a blog or social media or however you want to do it, you will start to polarize people. You are absolutely going to lose fans. You will heave some people off. Which I have done in record numbers lately. But fantastic. Because if you're polarizing people, it means that you're actually making a difference in some way. Your message isn't going to resonate with everyone. Not everyone's going to like what you have to say. That doesn't matter. So long as you're putting out things that you think are important, your ideas and insights that are helping a certain amount of people, your tribe, they're keeping your tribe happy, don't worry about the rest. Yeah. It's funny you say that, and I'll be straight up with you. I'm all right now. Like, I'm over it now. But as you know, the start of the year was emotionally very tough for me. Mm-hmm. Now, I had a lot of people. I even had nasty phone calls of people trying to shut down my blog. Really? Yeah, I had nasty phone calls of people trying to shut down my blog because, what I would do in my blog and when I'm writing, I'm getting at least 40 reads a day now. It's getting it's starting to get there now. Is that I would, if I praise someone, such as I praise you, I'll do it publicly. Mm-hmm. If I'm negative about someone or a situation, I'll just write generally. I'm not an Andrew Bolt. I'm not going to sit there and name that person. I'm not like that. Not just for legal reasons, but I just don't do that sort of thing. I'll praise in public and, I'm not going to publicly attack anyone. But what was interesting is I just write general articles about, I would never write about anyone. I'll just write about general behaviour. And the bad people know when they read it, they've got the guilty conscience. They were the first ones that would try and shut me down. So I've had probably at least 5 abusive phone calls. And they're just general blogs, but people feel that it's written about them. It actually wasn't. It's just a general blog about a certain behaviour, but they took it on as them. And they were trying to shut me down. And it's so true, and I think I'm used to it now, but for me it was quite a hard start to the year getting used to that. That's interesting. And good on you for sticking at it, because I think a lot of people, that might be enough to turn them away. I started getting more vicious in my blogs. Careful now. No, but look, as you said, you don't intentionally upset people or offend people, and there's no point doing that because what purpose does that serve? Oh, and it'll probably get you sued as well. Well, that's it. You've got to be really careful. But look, it's interesting that those people, even though you haven't written about them directly, they've taken personal offence to those posts, and I think that goes back to this whole quest for truth that's coming out at the moment, being your authentic self, being truthful. it can be really hard to see your flaws or weaknesses exposed, particularly if these are people in business. You know, we're quite, you know, our businesses are our babies. So if I read something that you write and it really hits a nerve with me, well, I would be looking at myself and go, well, why is that? What is it about that post that Ed wrote that's making me feel this way, and what can I do to change it? Maybe my business approach isn't right. Maybe I'm not being truthful. Maybe I'm not giving my customers the best product or service and not really meeting their needs.
Yeah, but I think that's what would set you and us apart from, and a lot of people listening to this interview. Like if you're listening to this interview and you're this deep into it, you must be an amazing person.
Well done on being amazing.
Exactly. So well done for listening this long into the interview. But if you're still on the, listening in or reading this, I mean, you're obviously the sort of character that's open to looking at yourself, open to thinking about things a bit differently. And I think there's a lot of people out there who just don't want to do that. Yeah. They just want to blame the world for all their problems. They're not willing to take personal responsibility.
Yeah. And that's just the way the world is. And there's nothing you can do to please those people. So my tip is to forget those people and focus on your tribe. Know that you're doing, as long as you're being truthful to yourself and to the people that you're sharing your insights with, just focus on that.
I think that's a very, very sound argument, Tate. It's interesting because you see a lot of companies, and a lot of them don't do it well, they're now struggling to become authentic. And it's just not washing, isn't it?
No.
It's like, you can trust us, and it's just not working.
Yeah.
I even noticed in my own industry, you know, in the sort of whole mentoring, business and marketing space, a lot of the people that have been sort of glitzy and glamoury are now trying this whole authentic thing. I'm not sure if it's washing with it in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing, and that's probably what's going to start weeding out the good operators from the bad, which is a good thing because we have a lot of competition out there. We're not, we're spoiled for choice as consumers when it comes to products and services. So this is going to be an interesting shift to see which companies stick around. And, this is almost a public relations point too, about being transparent, about having social responsibility, all these things that companies have been able to do on a surface level for a long time. But now, now the truth comes out. We want to see the proof in the pudding. So it's the whole thing of show me, don't tell me. Don't tell me that you're doing good things. Show me that you're doing good things, and then I'll trust you, and then I'll buy from you.
And it's funny, even talking personally in my own line of work, things are quite different for me now because I've got a reasonable sized footprint in Sydney. But I remember earlier on, to get my first clients, it would take me months and months and months of chipping away.
Yeah.
And it's funny, why do you think it works that way, Kat? Why does it take so long just to build credibility in the market? How does that work in your awesome marketing brain?
Well, I think that it comes back to being trustworthy. It takes time to build trust. When you're a kid and you had one best friend one day and one best friend the next, and you could just quickly trust people, trust friends like that. Well, as an adult, it doesn't work that way. We're a lot more suspicious, I think. So, it can take time when you're starting out to build up your business and build a name for yourself. But if you've got the right thing to sell and you're selling it to the right people and you know how to promote that properly and you're truthful in the way that you do that, you will build a really great network around you of people who support your business and refer you on. And I think what you've found, and I've certainly found this too, is once you start networking and building great relationships with people you know and like and trust, then they, refer on very quickly to other people. And it's kind of like the rolling stone, it just keeps picking up speed as it goes on. And
it's funny, and I like it's funny, this interview is turning into me using you for free consulting. So, and because I'm interviewing Kat, she's not allowed to send me an invoice for this.
Who says?
Oh, no. Oh, well, we'll have to wind up. That's the interview. No, I guess one thing that's got me sort of interested in, you got me thinking about my own business now. Seriously, I actually am using you for free consulting now.
Cool.
Is that in my own business, I mean, pretty much around mid last year, my business just sort of cracked that next level. And right now my business is, as you know, is cracking that then level above it. And the thing I've always done from day one is I've been straight up, like no contracts with people, 100% honest, no bull, and I'm all for telling people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And I think it's spot on. That has worked very well for me.
Yeah.
I get a lot of referrals these days, and I find that there are plenty of people who've been in the market longer than me that just don't have the reputation I do. They may not have as long a list of enemies as me, right, which is growing every day. But it's funny. I think in hindsight, I think I've been very authentic, and which has contributed. What do you think of me? Is that a fair comment?
I would say it's a very fair comment, and I think that's why people are drawn to you. And as long as you can continue to do that and not be afraid of polarizing people, then you've got a great model.
That polarization issue, that was tough for me the first month of the year. After I got this one phone call and I could not think properly for 2 days.
Wow.
Just someone ripping into me, abusing me. And these days I laugh at them. Like if someone rang me up now, I just sit there and, I don't know, threaten them or sort of, I'd say I'm going to ring up Tony Abbott and he's going to, stick you in the Manus Detention Centre or something, right? But, it's, when I first got those calls, it was confronting, and I think you need a very strong psychology and purpose to really go against, your critics like that.
You do.
So I take it, how are you? Do you have a rising list of critics? Because you seem like a pretty likeable character, but...
and I think that's probably why you struggled, like everyone does, but why you in particular struggled at the start with getting criticism is because you like to be liked as well. You're a likeable person. You want to do good by people. And so when you're criticised, it really cuts deep.
It did, yeah. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you or the audience, but I'm all right now. But at the time, it was devastating.
Yeah. But no, look, I haven't experienced that yet. And a reason for that is that I'm still building my tribe and I'm starting to find my voice. And I'm sure that once I get a stronger voice and start to really put my insights out there, sure, I'm going to polarise people. But that's all part of being a leader.
And it's funny you say that because... what I've noticed is that for every 20 people that like me, one person will hate me.
And they're not bad odds, I've got to say.
I was honest, the list of people who hate me grows way lower than the people that like me. And so I think the psychology for that is understanding that mechanism. If you want to make 20 friends, there's going to be someone who's out to kill you. So if you want 100 friends, then you've got to live with 5 people out to kill you, for example. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be fascinating when you come back from Vietnam. Yeah. And, I can give you some advice on how to polarize people.
Perfect.
Let's pick on someone. In fact, actually, what I've been doing, so I'm a pretty right-wing character.
Oh, are you? I had no idea.
Yeah, but when it comes to gays, I'm 100% gay marriage, 100% pro-gay, and I'm a Christian too.
Yeah.
And it's funny over social media. Whenever there's been a lot of posts lately coming out basically saying, look, I'm straight, but I'm pro-gay marriage. And I've been really beating that drum. And what happened originally, when I started I would put things up on Facebook saying, if you're not pro-gay marriage, you're basically a Nazi.
Wow. I nearly choked on my cheese just then.
Yeah.
That's a strong thing to say.
And no one's I noticed no one, and I even put up a post the other day, this is yesterday, about gay marriage, saying, if you're against gay marriage, you're a hater. No one's disagreeing with me anymore.
What a fantastic thing that is.
Yeah, why isn't anyone disagreeing with me anymore?
Maybe because the majority of people think it's ridiculous that we don't have gay rights.
Oh, I think it's crazy. I know our conversation is about gay rights, but going on that arc. But what actually has been interesting is, it was from George Takei, Sulu from Star Trek, came out, Japanese guy came out, gay and all that. All right, great stuff. What he did, he puts up a lot of posts basically saying, I'm straight, but I'm on these guys' side. And obviously I'm straight. Everyone thinks I'm gay because of my Melbourne accent. Not there's anything wrong with that. Do you want an arm wrestle? No. Give me a beer. Anyway. I'm a lumberjack. Well, stop, Tate.
Stop it.
Yeah, stop it. Okay, sorry, back to business. Anyway.
Yes.
Anyway, the point being is in these articles, we had this one person get on there and just trash gays using religious justification. And again, I'm a religious person, so that immediately puts a black mark against my name. But going back to you, what was interesting, everyone just jumped on there, including me, and just ripped this guy up. Yeah. And I called him a Nazi.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's funny. What I found is, that whole hating thing. You know how when you take a stand and there are certain people against you, I find once you get a bit of traction, they tend to back off.
They do.
Why is that? Are they getting scared? They know they're going to lose?
Oh, look, this is a whole other discussion in terms of, the whole online troll issue. People, and unfortunately there have been a lot of teen suicides in the media lately because of online trolls. There are girls There are girls posting about breaking up with their boyfriends, and these people who don't even know this girl will jump on and say, well, you should kill yourself, you're hopeless, you're worthless. And, this isn't an isolated incident. This is happening around the world. And it's not just teenagers, it's adults too. And it's all sorts of hate. It's racism, it's homophobia, it's, just bullying in its worst form, because people feel they can hide behind these fake online, identities. And it's disgusting. But when you get enough people standing up for something, those people are going to back down. So we need to keep this swell going of saying, no, it's not okay to be an online bully, or a bully in any sense, but particularly online. It's not okay. And I think that if we can keep that up, then our governments are going to change. They have to represent what the majority wants.
For example, anti-bullying, pro-gay marriage, that sort of thing.
It's got to shift. And it's starting to, cities around the world, every now and then we hear another city has accepted gay marriage, and that's fantastic, but it needs to be quicker. It needs to be everywhere.
And what's interesting, I'm obviously, I'm an ex-military operative, and I'm very right. But even I've jumped the fence. Even I'm like the first guy saying, hey, gay marriage is great, and if you're against us, you're a Nazi, And it's funny, I think I'm sort of going back to your original tribe comment, which has got me thinking while I'm using you for as free consulting, which is just great, Tate, is I think that, I think the hard thing is, and this is the process I'm going through, which I'm sure you'll go through, is that when you start off, the early criticism hurts, but you sort of get used to it.
Yeah.
And this might sound odd. I now miss it.
Oh.
No one's coming after me anymore.
So you need to strengthen your opinion.
Yeah, I'm calling people anti-gay marriage Nazis, and they're no longer biting. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, interesting.
So in other words, I must be a wallflower, Tate.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I got to tell you, I love this tribe thinking. Actually, question for you.
Yes.
What are things that we can do as small business owners who love marketing and entrepreneurialism? What can we do to speed up this tribe process? What are Kat's top tips on that one?
Well, I think the first thing is to, a lot of small business owners don't have a lot of time on their hands or a lot of money, right? We've all been there, we're all at that point. We've got a limited amount of money, a limited amount of time to do things like marketing and building a community and that sort of thing. So a lot of small businesses seem to freak out and think they have to be everywhere at once. Like, I've got to get on Twitter, I've got to be on Facebook, I've got to get a Pinterest account, I've got to be blogging every day.
I've stayed out of Pinterest.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Yeah, but for some businesses, Pinterest is the way to go. But people seem to think they have to do everything now and it has to be perfect. It doesn't. Sit back and think, where is my tribe gathering? So, for instance, your tribe seems to be on Facebook, I would say predominantly.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely Facebook. A little bit on LinkedIn, but mostly Facebook.
Yeah, whereas for me, my tribe was on Twitter.
Really?
Yes. It's a very strong creatives / writing / designer community on Twitter. And obviously there are a lot of media outlets on there too and spokespeople. So that's where I tend to go. That's where my audience gathers. A little bit of Facebook, but not so much. So, have a think about where your audience is gathering, test it out, but don't think you have to do everything at once. There's no point being, over there if your tribe's over here, because no one's going to hear you, or the wrong people are going to hear you and you'll get nowhere. So don't be afraid to just trial and error, suss out where everyone is, and then go to where that audience is and start speaking to them. My second tip would be, once you've found where they are, focus on being authentic. Please don't sell to me. Don't send me a tweet about buying something from you. I'm going to block you, unfollow you, whatever, to get you out of my face, right? Start a conversation with your tribe instead. Ask them questions. Hey, what's the biggest accounting issue that you've got? Or how have you lost money this month? Or, do you like your website or not? Whatever industry you're in, start asking questions to your tribe. Start getting involved in discussions, but not with the agenda of selling. If you go in there with the agenda of selling, you're not going to get anywhere, and it's unauthentic.
It's funny you say that, because, as you know, I've never really sold that hard in my business. In fact, I don't really sell that much.
Yeah.
90% of my communications is information. Mm-hmm. And then a little bit is, please buy me.
Yeah, please.
Please, I need this information. Help me.
I have bills.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean, because, I sell, but I actually don't sell that much. It's funny you say, because a lot of my strategy is just putting out the content and people come in and say, yeah, I'm interested in consuming your services.
Yeah, and I think that's about being generous as well. So being generous with your time and being generous with the information that you share.
So question and point. In my industry, very, very few people give away much.
Yeah.
And I think it's the most stupidest marketing strategy ever. But what's your take on that whole issue, Tate?
I would agree. I think you've got to be generous. I think people think that if they give things away for free that their competition's going to come in and steal it. Well, let them.
Yeah, just give away more stuff for free.
Just give away more stuff for free and just be confident in what you're doing and don't worry about the competition. But yeah, definitely be generous. Don't have the agenda of selling. Things like, whether it's an ebook that you give away, whether it's your information through a blog post, even if it's just having a conversation with someone, call up a customer, find out how they're going, just give them some free tips. That that's the way that you build relationships.
That's actually, you've just described exactly how I built my business to this date and time.
Well, there you go.
Out of interest, and while I've got you for some free consulting, Tate, I started blogging 2 months ago, probably seriously 6 weeks ago. And I used to do about 5 visits to my website a day. Now it's about 40 to 50 a day.
Woohoo!
And I've got not just me, but I've got a lot of people who are going into blogging. From your experience, if you're, let's say, using blogging or, let's say blogging is a common strategy, how much blogging do you think it takes to sort of get real traction out there? To really get your tribe resonating?
That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
That's going to be different for everyone. Apologies for that, I just knocked the table, everybody. But no, that's something that you've really got to just try. It'll be different for different businesses. The important thing really when you're starting out is not to think, I have to put a post out every single day. The important thing is that you're regular. So if you don't think that you can do a post a day, don't start out doing a post a day.
And this might be a blog post, this might be Facebook use, this might be Twitter use.
Absolutely. Whatever your marketing strategy is, whatever tactic you choose to use to push your ideas out there. It's more about setting expectations. So if I sign up to your blog and you tell me that you're sending out a weekly newsletter or blog post or whatever it might be, or, if I know that every day you put something on Twitter, if suddenly that stops, I'm going to be a bit confused and probably drop out because I don't feel like you've delivered what the expectation was. And also I'm not seeing you enough. You're not kind of in front of my mind enough for me to stay as part of your tribe. So, Ed's just choking on a cracker over here.
I'm choking on a cracker.
He's choked up by my brilliant ideas.
Yeah, and there's so much to choke on. Listen to my voice. Yeah.
Yeah, where were we? What were we talking about?
Well, before I start choking on this cracker that I'm eating, you're talking about be it social media or blogging or marketing. It's not so much the quantity of information, but it's more the consistency of information.
Consistency and quality. A lot of people come to me and say, I'm just a really bad writer. I don't think I can write or blog or tweet or whatever. I'm just such a terrible writer. And, there are a lot of copywriters who will disagree with me here, and that's fine. But don't worry about being a good writer. Don't worry about your spelling. That's not the reason why your tribe is coming to you, and that's not the reason why your tribe is sticking around. They're coming to you and they're sticking around because you have ideas, opinions and insights and information that's really sticky, that they go, yes, that's what I want to hear. So they're not there picking up on typos and, putting a fine-tooth comb over your copy. There'll be people who will do that. Any blog or any content you put out there, someone's going to tell you, you should have put an apostrophe there, or you don't spell it that way, but that's the whole online
But we just dob them into the federal police.
Well, you just ignore them. Just don't give them a voice. Leave their comments up, don't delete them.
Or do what I do to people anti-gay, put photos of Hitler up there and say that's them.
Yeah, that's probably the more extreme approach. My approach is usually to ignore them, let them have their voice, leave the comments there, but don't worry about that. Focus instead on your ideas. You're in business because you've got ideas. If you're succeeding in business, it's because you're doing some good stuff. So get the good stuff out there.
And I think that's really, I suppose, the crescendo of what we're sort of saying here is that I think the sentiment of what you're getting at, Kat, is don't be afraid to be different and put that view forward.
Absolutely.
This has been one amazing interview, Kat.
Yeah.
I was going to say, before we let people get back to their morning tea or afternoon tea or dinner, what's your advice to the audience? In fact, I have a better question for you. If you could go back in time right now to see a Tate from 3 to 5 years ago, what would you tell her?
I would probably say that everything that you need to have the life that you want is in you. Don't look for anyone else to prop you up, support you, give you feedback. Forget it. Forget anything that's external. Be yourself. As you say, be different and be resilient. Know that you've got everything you need to live the life that you want, and then don't take no for an answer.
Wow, and there you go. You've heard it first, the exclusive interview of Kat Tate on Channel Edward. Yeah, I just want to say this has been amazing, Kat, and it's it's been a pleasure working with you, and I love sending business your way because you're great at handling copywriting. So, amazing interview. Make sure you Google cattate.com.au. No, is your website still going to be?
It's actually cattatecopywriting.com.au. Yes, I probably will be rebranding at some point, but there'll be a redirect there. So don't worry. If you type that in, you'll still get to my site.
Excellent. So we'll call it RoboCat when she's part beach girl, part machine. We're looking forward to it. But look, I just want to say thank you, Kat. This has been absolutely amazing. And we got to get ready for our webinar that starts very soon.
We do. We need to get the technology cranking and get onto it.
Excellent. Guys, Edward's here, Small Business Marketing Mentor signing out. Goodbye from me.
Bye-bye.